Good morning. I'm Harley Schlanger from the LaRouche Organization with your daily video update for August 26th, 2024. Let me begin by thanking my colleagues who filled in for me last week to make sure you got the updates from the LaRouche Organization that are needed. They did an excellent job. I thank them, and I thank you for paying attention to what they had to say. Now, it's crucial that we have an informed population because, as Helga Zepp-LaRouche has emphasized, the next 3 to 6 months are going to be the most dangerous in human history. The world is in completely uncharted territory. We have lunatics controlling the governments of the West, lunatics who owe their allegiance to the military-industrial financial complex, not to the people who supposedly elect these governments or the people these governments are supposed to represent. We have a prospect of global war. There's, according to the New York Times, an article last week said that the United States is now committing itself to being prepared to fight nuclear war against Russia, China, and North Korea. These are official documents, allegedly classified, although the reporter from the New York Times had access at least to the reports on them. But this represents an escalation in the provocative outlook of the Western governments. Now, at the same time, this global war is shaping up. We have direct NATO conflict against Russia. There is NATO equipment being used, NATO weapons, probably NATO troops inside Russia. The training and planning of the Kursk incursion was done by NATO. Now, Ukraine, meanwhile, is shooting drones at Russian nuclear plants, the one in Kursk. How does blowing up a nuclear plant serve the cause of democracy? Now, this was addressed by a Russian Special Forces commander, Major General Laudinov, who said that they have just ample and adequate evidence that NATO was directly involved in the planning and training for this operation, for this incursion into the Kursk region. And he said it was prepared under American leadership. And he issued an appeal to the American people, this from a Special Forces commander in Russia. He said, "You do not see or hear that your leadership is doing all that it can to launch a nuclear war." And he said, they're taking actions that will make Russia cross a nuclear red line. That is, Russia has a commitment to defend itself, if necessary, using nuclear weapons. Laudinov continued, quote, this to the American people, "I don't think this is something you really want. If you don't want this to happen, speak out, go to the streets and stop your government." Well, by reporting this, I may be pegged as a Putin agent trying to end the war by quoting Russian propaganda. This is not propaganda. There are increasing numbers of voices coming out warning of this danger, of the provocation that attacking Russia directly puts certainly NATO forces in Western Europe and the United States on the target list of those that will have to be hit to defend Russia. If that's not what you want, Laudinov said, then say something about it. Speak out. Now, we have from Kit Clarenberg from the United Kingdom talking about British media reporting that British-made Challenger tanks were part of the invasion force, and that this was directly improved by Prime Minister Starmer and Defense Secretary Healey, who are committed to deeper British involvement in the war against Russia. Now, this is typical British war policy, to take the lead, at least rhetorically, send in some token operations, but then use that to demand that everyone else do more. Remember who Starmer is. He is in a sense, a protege of Tony Blair. This is the Blair policy, that Britain leads, Britain takes responsibility. Starmer saying, as long as it takes, we're with you, Ukraine. And committing the idea that the Western countries will go to every length possible to weaken Russia. We see the same thing from the U.S. Democratic Party. I'll probably report more on the Democratic Convention tomorrow, but it's clear that Kamala Harris is going to continue the Biden war policies. Will she be softer spoken when she does it? I don't know. We had the obscene spectacle of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, praising Harris for working tirelessly for 10 months for a ceasefire in Gaza. Well, first of all, if that were true, it shows how incompetent she and the Biden administration are. Because 10 months trying to convince Israel to stop genocide, and the genocide continues, what does that say about their power? In reality, the world is astonished at the continuity of the US and the British and NATO in pursuing policies that are putting the world on the edge of war. Now, one potential game changer in this, and again, this will be part of my report tomorrow, is the announcement by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that he's suspending his campaign and is going to back Trump. And that in the statement they issued, there was very strong opposition to the Ukraine war. Now, coming back to the attack on the nuclear energy plants, here's a question that has to be asked. Where are the Greens in the German government in this? The Green Party was essentially an anti-nuclear party because it said nuclear power represents a threat to the safety of civilians. Well, now their government, the Greens are in the government. Baerbock is the foreign minister. The Greens are backing a policy of bringing American missiles into Germany to target Russia. More importantly, German tanks may be in Russia now for the first time since World War II. And they're attacking nuclear plants. Where are the voices of the Greens? The Greens have to be eliminated as a party. They're hypocritical war hawks and have nothing to do with the idea of peace. Now, a final point here is the escalation of censorship, the silencing of opposition. We saw this with reports on the attempt to contain Tulsi Gabbard, to spy on her, to keep her under watch. The raid on Scott Ritter's home, there are other people being attacked. The most recent is Richard Medhurst, a British journalist who's an opponent of the Israeli war against the Palestinian people. He was taken off a plane the moment he landed in Heathrow Airport in London and subjected to, well, he was arrested. He was subjected to threats. Now, what does that indicate? Pre-war censorship to contain opposition, to present a narrative of unity behind the war policy. We also saw the arrest of Pavel Durov, the CEO of the messaging app Telegram. So we're in a situation when we say pre-war. We saw what happened over the weekend with Hezbollah and Israel. They exchanged heavy fire and then agreed to back off. Well, how long will that last? Netanyahu is committed to destroying Hezbollah, destroying Hamas, destroying the Houthis, destroying Iran, and in the process, what's being destroyed? Israel. But pre-war censorship has the purpose of silencing opposition, intimidating opponents, and controlling the narrative. Now, this will be discussed more this coming Friday when the International Peace Coalition has its next Zoom call. These calls have been crucial in catalyzing opposition. And now we need you to join with us, to become part of our organization, to get our intelligence by subscribing to the Executive Intelligence Review Daily Alert online. We'll have a link for that in the description section. But it's crucial that the American people speak up. The Russian general who made that appeal to the Americans didn't make the appeal on behalf of the Russian war machine, but on behalf of the people of the world. A nuclear war could annihilate the human race. And right now, the forces moving the world toward a nuclear war are those of the U.S., the NATO allies, and especially the United Kingdom. It's time now for your voice to be heard. So thanks for joining me, and I'll see you again tomorrow.